everyone, and welcome to Modernizing National Government, the first in our 2017 series of webinars addressing how national governments are utilizing modern GIS technology to more efficiently and effectively meet the needs of their citizens. This webinar is being recorded. We will send you an email afterward to point you towards the recording if you'd like to view it again or share it with your colleagues. There will be 3 question and answer sessions during the webinar. You can type your questions into the question window and we will address them at the appropriate time. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to our speakers today. First up will be Mark Seigan, Industry Manager for Mapping, Statistics, and Imagery here at Esri. Mark has over 33 years of experience working in GIS. He serves on the Board of Directors of the International Map Industry Association Americas and the Joint Board of Geospatial Information Societies, and also participates on the United Nations Committee of Experts on Global Geospatial Information Management. Next, you'll be hearing from Steve Snow, Industry Specialist for Mapping, Statistics, and Imagery at Esri. Steve has worked with GIS for the past 18 years. Before coming to Esri, Steve served as an Army Engineer Officer and a NOAA Corps Officer with a focus on remote sensing, surveying, and charting. Let's go ahead and get started. I will turn it over to Mark, who will review the agenda and jump into our topic today.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. We are going to begin going over a couple of topics today as we think about modernizing our national geospatial authorities. We'll give you a chance to ask some questions, and we'll answer those for you. And then we're going to move into how geospatial authorities are sharing information and the concept of a GeoHub that's emerging. Then we'll move into another question and answer time, and then we'll talk about how you might think about modernizing your geospatial systems. And we'll have, again, an opportunity at the end for you to ask questions. And we'll look at what's next, how you might be able to think about these concepts and implement them within your organization as you go forward. So many geospatial authorities are dealing with similar challenges. We're all needing to do more with less. We have a need to share information across organizations, and we need to modernize our systems to better serve our customers and stakeholders. All of us as geospatial authorities have a core workflow where we collect information, we manage that information that we've collected, then we produce information products from that we share out then to our customers. The challenges we're having oftentimes is we have barriers to sharing information within our own organizations. We collect that information oftentimes in stovepipes that are not necessarily connected, and we don't share easily across our organization to produce the information products or to share that information out. Geospatial information systems, or GIS, allow us to share that information. We can collect the information from various sensors and then collect that into the GIS, and that same GIS is used to produce various information products, and that same GIS is used to share those information products out to our customers and stakeholders. Let's look at this in a little more detail. As we think about GIS or even a web GIS, it's really a platform that streamlines our mapping. We can collect information from sensors on different platforms, from different sources, and bring that into our GIS. The GIS, if you think about it as a platform that really supports this workflow of collect, produce, and share, the GIS allows us to manage not only the data through the data models, but also the production itself and the specifications and the standard operating procedures that we as organizations use to guide our production. And we're able to monitor that production, have a window into our production using the GIS. All of that allows us to produce our various information products, maps, data, increasingly online and mobile apps. The variety of information products is continuing to expand. And by collecting this information once and managing it in one place, we're able to produce many different products. We're also able to manage the workflows that we use to produce those products and then share them out to our customers. So GIS really enables you to automate and reduce the repetitive tasks that you do in production. It allows you to connect your organization and easily share information throughout your organization, and allows you to be more responsive to your customers. As you modernize your systems, you're able to meet their needs for information products. So let me give you an example. Typically, I've done this presentation with a colleague at the Ordnance Survey Ireland. Lorraine McNerney is the general manager there at the National Mapping Agency in Ireland. And she typically illustrates some of the things that I've been talking about using the example of how they've done it in Ireland. So like many geospatial authorities, they're producing core geospatial data, both vector and raster data. They're doing large and medium and small scale vector data. They're also managing large stores of imagery, both for the nation, but also for individual urban areas. They're managing the 3D height data, the boundary data, the geo names, all of the core foundational data that's needed for a country. And increasingly, they've traditionally produced this as hard copy maps. Increasingly, they are doing map data, digital data, and online web GIS, and providing information as web services that supply the information to various mobile apps. At the heart of their production system, their authoritative data, or what they refer to as their single source of truth, is a scale-independent database. It's a multi-resolution data store. There's 50 million features inside of the data store, and then they use that data to feed all of the other information products that they have at various scales. And we'll look in a minute how they do that. This is part of the digital transformation that Ordnance Survey Ireland has been going through, and we'll talk a bit about what that looks like. Similar to what we talked about collecting and producing and sharing information, they collect or create that data from various sources. They then manage that data inside of their core data holdings. And you've got examples there, but also the workflows are managed inside of the GIS, and the cartographic representations or orchestrations in the various products that they produce. Again, hard copy maps, digital data, web services, mobile apps. All of that is produced from that data store. And they share that out through their products and services, and also through their e-commerce, as well as the GeoHive, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, and how they share this information out through a portal. So at the heart of this is the multi-resolution data store. And what I mean by that is at Ordnance Survey, they've created their core digital landscape data at 1 to 1,000 scale. And they produce many different data ranges of products and data, all the way up to 1 to 1 million scale. So they extrapolate that information in an automated process, and then they generalize that information from the large scale up to the medium and small scale. And what that looks like for them is producing and maintaining that data in one core data set that they then use to produce all of their hard copy maps, their digital data, and their web services. And that's shared across all of their stakeholders, both government, their citizen constituents, as well as across industry to help drive government. This is what it looks like, an example of one of their maps at 1 to 50,000 scale, produced from this highly automated workflow line. This is a image of one of their latest hard copy maps, again, produced from that same database. So maintaining that data once, producing many different types of products from that, which is a huge efficiency for them. So with that, we're going to stop and take some questions here. We've got a number of questions that have come in from you that are attending. One of the questions we have here is, how does the Ordnance Survey Ireland produce many different types and scales of products from one single database? Well, the automation of their data production and their cartographic products are coming from the automated processes and the generalization from one authoritative, as I mentioned, source of truth that they then extrapolate into this multi-resolution data store that produces products from 1 to 5,000 scale all the way up to 1 to 1,000,000 scale for their map data, their hard copy products, their web services and apps. So we're going to go to a poll question now. Kathleen?
Hi, yes, you should see a poll pop up on your screen right now. Are you being asked to produce more with fewer resources in your organization? Go ahead and respond to that, and we will share out the results afterwards.
So you'll see that in your GoToWebinar window there. We're getting in quite a few responses right now. We'll give you a couple more minutes, or I should say a couple more seconds, I should say. Looks like about 3/4 of you have voted so far, so we'll just give everyone a few more seconds here. Wow, this is great participation. We've got, we're up to almost 85% of you have responded, so thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Looks like some of that it's calming down now. It looks like we're right at 85% yes and 15% no on the question of, are you being asked to produce more with fewer resources? So definitely have hit a nerve there, I think, and definitely I think we're all kind of struggling with that, and hopefully some of this information that we're giving you will help you with that, solve some of that. We're going to move on to our next section here. All right, the next section here is we're going to be talking about, once you've created that geospatial information, that authoritative single point of truth, how do you share that information out to your customers? There's a concept of a GeoHub that's advancing how we share information across organizations. And it's really not only just sharing it, but it's for sharing it to solve problems, to have better decision making, evidence-based decision making. And we're really seeing that, a need for that in this day and age. We are not only just creating authoritative information and then just putting it out there and expecting people to use it, but we really need to put it out there in a way that our customers and stakeholders can really take advantage of that authoritative information and those information products, and be able to derive information and be able to make evidence-based decisions that allow it to be defendable and know with confidence that they are using, that they are addressing these issues that all of our nations and government authorities are dealing with. So that core authoritative information is really the basis or the foundation for us to be able to do this. It allows us to address these issues of national importance, things like economic development, which we'll see in the next example here with Ireland, national security, social and environmental challenges that are contributing to priorities that our nations need to address. And this can be done through a web GIS or a GeoHub. So we've seen this, some of you may have heard about this GeoHub concept. We've definitely at Esri, we've been talking about how the city of Los Angeles has done this. Mayor Garcetti has gotten up and talked about how GIS and web GIS is really transforming how they deliver services across their government organization using this concept of a hub that works across government but also out to their community of users. So what is that GeoHub concept? It's really the ability to have GIS not only throughout the organization, but those GISs to bring down the barriers and allow those different departments and those different communities of users and even individual citizens to share information and more importantly, collaborate to be able to get to consensus on how to solve problems. So it's used across the city staff and community users as we look on the right, and as we go clockwise. It's also used by industry to drive startups and economic development. It's of course used in education and used by individual citizenry. And all that information that's shared across these communities can be shared up to our leaders to help them make better decisions and get information derived from communities of use. At the same time that the city of Los Angeles was doing that GeoHub, Ireland was also creating their own GeoHub. It's called GeoHive, incidentally. And again, I'm taking these slides from Lorraine McNerney at Ordnance Survey Ireland. And they've implemented the GeoHive that's being used across Irish government. It started with their own organization. It was quickly picked up to be used for Inspire, which is it was their portal for the National Spatial Data Infrastructure, but also that went into their European-wide regional spatial data infrastructure to meet the requirements that were required by the European Union for the Inspire directive that was required by law that they share information. That information has now become their hub for their NSDI. And that is a platform for not only delivering the data, they certainly did what was required for delivering the ability to discover and download data, but it goes even farther and actually creates communities of use that are actually addressing issues, and they're sharing that information across government and across to private industry and to their citizenry. And that's based on the Esri ArcGIS Online technology, which is part of the Esri enterprise with the portal technology. So they had some requirements as they launched. They wanted this to be mobile enabled, so they needed to be able to share this across any type of device at any time. They wanted to be able to combine information. So this was not only just the authoritative data from Ordnance Survey Ireland, but also information across government from 19 different government organizations that are contributing information that can be used in the GeoHive to combine information layers from different authoritative sources and then share that out across communities that are deriving additional information products from that core authoritative data. All that data is managed inside of the portal, so they manage a catalog of information and creating the different information products. And the focus is on communities of use. What are the users' needs? How do they derive information to make better decisions? So those were some of the core principles, guiding principles for GeoHive. As they implemented this GeoHub, they were using the ArcGIS enterprise technology, but they also created a way for them to mash up this information and actually be able to visualize this. So in this case, we have the authoritative base data from the Ordnance Survey Ireland mashed up and combined with the population statistic data for Ireland coming from their statistical agency. So a good example of two authoritative sources that are being brought in, and then they're deriving additional information from that to be able to drive decision making. So they do that through these communities of use, and this is really where we're seeing spatial data infrastructure and portals going to the next generation. It's this idea of a GeoHub, and it's a hub where communities of use can come in and collaborate and exchange information, mash up information based on the authoritative data, but then they create derivative products from that. It could be private industry creating value-added products, and it could be just citizens that are working on issues of common problems. We see, for instance, on the left here, buying and selling property. We see on the right emergency management, and you can, the communities of use are just endless here. So one example here is Ireland was, as many of you may be aware, went through the recession like most of the world, but they were particularly hard hit. They were one of the first countries and one of the hardest hit countries with the recession. And there was a major initiative across Ireland to drive economic development. And it's been pointed to GeoHive as being one of the ways they were able to do this. This is an example of one area where they were able to mash up the authoritative data from the Ordnance Survey Ireland, but combining that with authoritative information on property sales across Ireland, as well as public transportation information, statistical data, demographic data, all coming again from authoritative sources, but now we're deriving additional information from that. And this was used by industry in the real estate industry to drive decision-making about how they managed and drove the economy with the real property in Ireland. So what is the value of doing all of this? Modernizing our systems takes time and resources and effort. And For Ireland, what they did was they actually quantified this. They actually went in and looked at what how the geospatial information was driving the jobs market, as you can see on the left, but also the monetary benefits to the country. And we can see that that the geospatial industry had an economic impact to the country of 126 million euros. The estimated impact of the economic value of the annual time savings that was derived from that was 279 million euros. So very significant, and these are actually it's pretty well acknowledged, these are pretty conservative figures, and that was on purpose. They wanted to build a baseline that they could work off of, but they wanted to make sure that everyone had a consensus on these numbers. So I think the big number in the middle there is the 82 million euros, and that is the use of geospatial information estimated to of actual savings to government. So government invested in this GeoHive for the use of across the country, and just to government there was 82 million euro return on investment there. But we see for the country a 280 million euro impact on the country. Pretty significant. So with that, again, a lot of information. Let me turn it over there for questions for you to ask questions here. This is your opportunity. I'm just kind of filtering through the questions here. So one of the questions we have is how did Ireland calculate the value of geospatial data at Ireland, and why did they do this? This was done, the numbers that I just showed you were done in an independent study commissioned by the Ordnance Survey of Ireland. It was conducted by Indicon, which is an independent consulting group that calculated the economic value of geospatial technology to the country of Ireland. They did this to demonstrate what the return on investment was for modernizing their systems. Another question we have is how are GeoHubs like Ireland's GeoHive different from other data portals or spatial data infrastructures? And I think the answer to that is GeoHubs are not only providing a system for discovering and accessing information, which is what we would expect from those systems, but additionally it's also providing an environment for collaboration across government agencies, in private industry, but also to individual citizens. And by doing that through these communities of users, they're actually addressing and solving real-world problems. So I think with that, just cognizant of time, we're going to move to the poll question here. So Kathleen, if you want to put that up. So you'll see the new poll question there is, would the type of benefits seen in Ireland's GeoHive appeal to your customers and stakeholders? And again, you all are being great at responding here. This is good to see. We're already at about half of you have voted, so that's great. Thank you. We'll give the rest of you a little bit of time here to just respond to that question. All right, and we are at about 3/4 of you now have voted. So again, we really appreciate the interaction with you and getting some of that feedback. I'll give the rest of you just another couple seconds here to respond, and then we'll give you the results here. All right, so it looks like we kind of plateaued here. So we've got about 1/3 of you, about 33 saying yes, definitely that the type of benefits you've seen with Ireland's GeoHive would appeal to your customers and stakeholders. We've got a little over half of you, about 55% said possibly, but you'd need to get more information on that. So that's fair enough. And about 12 of you say, my customers have different requirements. So we would definitely be interested in hearing from you, what are the types of things that you need to do. So there'll be contact information at the end of this. We'd be happy to interact with you. But again, about a third of you said definitely yes. More than half of you said, possibly or probably, and you'd like to get more information. So thank you again for contributing to that and some real world information here. And with that, we wanted to move into our next section, and that's going to be with my colleague Steve Snow. And Steve's going to address how you look at modernizing your systems to be able to do some of the things that we talked about. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot, Mark. I just want to go ahead and get started here. We have, earlier we saw that ArcGIS supports the geospatial functions of data collection, production, and sharing with management embedded throughout. But all of this is only made possible using a GIS framework that provides a system of record, a system of engagement, and a system of insight. Most GIS professionals are already experts at using ArcGIS as a system of record for the collection, management, and sharing of geospatial information. A system of engagement is a system that allows more people to share and understand complex data and ideas. GIS applies the benefits of geography, of maps everywhere across your organization and the communities in a way that invites participation from everyone, whether it's employees, customers, partners, and citizens. With more and more data being acquired daily, the need to make insightful and accurate decisions has become more important. With an organization's growing data holdings, more accurate analytics are now available and can be leveraged using a system of insight, whether it's trying to see where customers are located or modeling the impacts of climate change. Maps make it easier to gather insights on trends and spatial relationships. GIS as a system of record. So ArcGIS has long been utilized as a system of record to manage data, store information, and provide authoritative information to create further products and support decision making. ArcGIS as a system of record can manage information either centrally or from multiple systems. Ultimately, the systems of record is vital to dissemination through a system of engagement for organizations. A good example of a system of record would be an authoritative base map. The base map might be an imagery base map of the most accurate national data, or a national statistical map enabled by a time series with historical or authoritative data, or lastly, land administration of parcels for value assessment that can provide essential revenue for government. Starting off, GIS is about connecting everyone, creating a system of engagement between people and organizations, providing context so that we understand as communities what's going on, and GIS and maps are the common language. Maps help us communicate, understand, and act. Creating a system of engagement starts with communication by connecting people in real time using smart and geographically aware devices. It is meant to enable and empower more people, employees, customers, consumers, citizens, and suppliers with the information they need. Using apps on mobile devices, field crews become more productive and effective by getting and providing near real-time information as they work, by visualizing and analyzing business data on a map. Office employees discover new patterns and insights. Citizens can now more easily find information about their city, county, or country on open data portals, and providing direct feedback to their governments using crowdsourcing apps that can simply install on their smartphones. Executives and officials will get deeper and more encompassing look at their businesses or common operating pictures, allowing for better situational awareness. The key word in all of this, of course, is engagement. That is achieved by sharing information via collaborative tools that make it easy for everyone to get involved. So the ArcGIS platform provides ready-made tools to support creating a system of engagement, from customizing with no code to completely configurable. Utilizing ArcGIS helps utilize their existing data holdings, move their apps quickly into the Google Play, Apple, and Microsoft app stores, share apps across an organization's enterprise, and ultimately save money on your own app development. Essentially, government can build an app once and it is automatically ready for Android, iOS, Windows, and Linux. So GIS embeds advanced analytics and visualization. Analytics, spatial analysis, and geoprocessing have been a main part of GIS for a long time. But what's new now is the ability to deal with very, very large data sets and do analytics to create insights that allow us to explore and understand more detailed patterns. ArcGIS helps provide context to your data and the various types of analysis, storage, and visualization. You need to create a system of insight in order to deliver timely, data-driven decisions. This includes the velocity, variety, and volume of your data, which dictate the type of analytics you want to perform and the answers you are looking for. A few examples are analyzing your real-time sensor networks to set up traffic alerts from live feeds coming in from GeoEvent server, working with the next one would be working with authoritative data usually generated as part of Office data, management workflows that are generated from ArcGIS Pro or desktop, for further analysis into intermediary products or other final products. And lastly, you have the case of observations that are collected and archived as historical data for deferred batch analysis. So, as a system of insight also works on other large data sets such as imagery, LiDAR, sonar, providing the analytical capabilities of working with point cloud analysis, raster analysis, and meshes. This approach allows for multi-dimensional mapping and visualization, which supports new approaches to decision support, which were strictly limited to traditional 2D workflows in the past. So lastly, using ArcGIS as a system of record, engagement, and insight, it's about integrating everything, connecting people and processes and the things and all the data about them. This means integrating our system of record, like the record keeping for cadastral, parcel data, or streets, creating a system of engagement to inform your organization and community, and lastly with the system of insight, which allows you to analyze and work with this data. In fact, GIS brings these three together in a single platform to help modernize government. This will help bring parts of the organization together to understand increasingly in real time, be aware, be responsive, and provide what we need to break the barriers and connect everything together. So lastly, we'll be able to take a few questions, Kathleen. Okay, so the first question is, since sharing is part of a system of record, why do we need this system of engagement? Well, modernizing government requires more than data collection, production, and sharing. Stakeholders will need access to the powerful information that's usually stored away in these system of records. Your system of engagement really is a decentralized system that encourages peer-to-peer interactions, that often draw upon several systems of records. Take a look, see what we have for another one. Okay, we have one more. With setting up a new system of engagement, where do I get started? Well, there's quite a few resources on GeoNet. In particular, if you're interested in looking up and building things with things like Web App Builder, there's another product called ArcGIS App Studio. I mentioned a little bit about being able to get these apps created once without having to write them in separate languages and pushed out to the different stores, such as the Google, the Apple, and the Microsoft ecosystems. Okay.
All right, so key takeaways from today's presentation: modernization of national geospatial authorities enables you to do more with less. GeoHubs, like we saw in GeoHub Ireland, empower sharing across communities and nations. And modernizing your systems provide better engagement and insights to your customers and stakeholders. Thank you, Mark and Steve, for the presentations, and thank you everyone for attending today. We do encourage you to head over to go.esri.com/moderngov/webinars to register for the next webinar in our series, Improving Multi-Sensor Fusion Using Advanced Raster Analytics and Distributed Processing, which will take place on May 31st. We would also like to invite you to the upcoming Esri Imaging and Mapping Forum, which will take place in San Diego, California on July 8th and 9th. The theme of the conference is Empowering 3D GIS with Remotely Sensed Content, and we have a great event planned this year. So head over to go.esri.com/IMF2017 to view the agenda. By attending the IMF, you also gain access to the first 2 days of the Esri User Conference, so it's a pretty good deal. Again, thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you again in May. Have a wonderful day.